Hi everyone, this is Helloangel.design. Today I am going to show you how to make this beautiful dress in a step-by-step tutorial. And it has a cap sleeve. I use this fabric for the sleeve and I use the blue fabric for the waistline. You can decide to add it so that it looks beautiful and the color pops out more. Please support us by subscribing, thumbs up on our video, share our video to your friends and loved ones, and let's get started. First thing that you have to do, you're going to grab your front and back pattern paper. If you don't know how to make a basic pattern paper, I'll put the link on the description box below so that you can go and watch that video. I have shown how you can make your basic pattern paper. What you are going to do, you are going to add a few centimeters or a few inches at the waistline, because this dress has a button loop at the center back, so you want it to be free when the child is putting it on, especially at the waistline. You place your measuring tape at the waistline. You can measure down 1 centimeter like this. Once you do that, you take your ruler, place it from the armhole, so you're placing the ruler a diagonal way. It's not going to be straight, and you just go ahead, connect it from the armhole to that 1 centimeter, and then you go ahead and join it at the waistline. So once you join it like that, you can take your scissors and cut it out. I'll put the front pattern paper aside. This is the back pattern paper. You can see the excess right here. Place your measuring tape at the waistline, measure down 1 centimeter. Once you've done that, take your ruler, connect it down. Once you connect it down, you take your scissors and cut it out. I have cut it out. This is how it is. You can either add half an inch for the waistline or 1 centimeter. So what you are going to do, you're going to take your pattern paper, place it on your fabric. The front pattern paper, you're going to place it on fold, and you come down to the back pattern paper. You're also going to place your back pattern paper on fold when you are cutting your fabric. Add seam allowance at the side seam, armhole, shoulder, and neckline. So go ahead and cut out your fabric. I have cut out my fabric, so I cut out my skirt. I have 2 pieces right here. I have shown many times how you can cut out your skirt. Take the total waistline of your front top dress, times that by 2, or even times it by 3. Any measurement that you get, that will be for the front, and you also do the same thing for the back. So I have cut out my skirt, and I've also cut out my back top dress. I put the back on fold, as you can see. I have 2 pieces right here. I'm going to use the same fabric to lining the top dress, and I've also cut out the front. I cut out 2 pieces. I'm also going to use the same fabric to lining the front, and this is my cap sleeve. If you don't know how to make a basic sleeve, I'll put the link on the description box below. Please check that out. For this tutorial, I'm not going to show how to make a cap sleeve. On my next tutorial, I will show you guys how to make cap sleeve so that you can gather it at the top edge of your dress. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this fabric to lining the cap sleeve. So this will be for the front, while this will be the lining. I'm just going to pin my sleeve all around. And once I am done pinning, I will take my scissors and I will go ahead and cut it out. First thing that you have to do, you take your cap sleeve. So I'll put the fabric, place it on top of it like this. Take your lining, so I'll put them together like this. I will take it to my sewing machine and I will top stitch. I'll pick the other pieces, place it like this, and I will take my lining, place it on top of it, take it to my sewing machine and top stitch. Once you have done stitching, turn it inside out and give it a good press. Once you have done that, make sure you stitch a gather thread at the top edge of your cap sleeve. Stitch a gather stitch thread at the top edge of your cap sleeve. Once you have done that, you take your back top dress. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a measurement for the back top dress. Place your measuring tape like this from the neckline. I'm going to measure down 4 inches or 10 centimeter. You mark that. Once you have done that, what I'm going to do, you take your scissors. I'm going to cut it all the way down. So once you have done that, you put that aside. You also repeat the same process on the second back top dress. The next thing that you have to do, you take your back top dress, you're going to put the bow shoulder seam together like this. Pick the second pieces, put the bow shoulder seam together. Once you have done that, take it to your sewing machine, stitch the bow shoulder seam, and you also open the second fabric, put the bow shoulder seam together like this. You take the second pieces, put the bow shoulder seam together, go ahead and stitch the shoulder seam together. I have stitched the shoulder seam of my top dress, and I've also stitched my calf sleeve all around. I set my sewing machine to the longest stitch. I stitch a gather stitch thread on the calf sleeve. This is how it is, and I also repeat the same process with the second calf sleeve. The next thing that you have to do, you're going to put your lining on top of it like this. That means on top of your top dress. You're going to pin it all around. Once you have done pinning, take it to your sewing machine, stitch around the neckline. You are not stitching the armhole yet. We are only stitching the neckline. Once you have done that, you take your skirt. This is my skirt. This is the front of my skirt. And you take the second pieces. You're going to put them together. Put them together like this. Go ahead and stitch the side seam. You also come down to this other side, stitch the side seam. Once you have done that, you can also take it to your overlocker. Overlock the side seam of your skirt. You also overlock this other side seam of your skirt. Once you have done that, set your sewing machine to the longest stitch. You stitch a gather stitch thread on the top edge of your skirt. I have stitched the neckline. This is how it is. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to stitch the center back. What you are going to do, you're going to put them together like this, and then you pick them like this. You put them together, both neckline facing each other. So I will take my pin and I will first secure this together. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start pinning from the waistline to where we measure 4 inch or 10 centimeter. The next thing that you have to do, stitch from here down, stitch from here down. I want to show you step by step on how to achieve a perfect center back. Once you have done that, make sure to prepare your button loop. I have already stitched that in place, so I'll go ahead and stitch it all the way down. I have stitched the center back. I take it to my ironing board. I give it a good press just to press the seam apart, and I also do the same thing on this side. So when you are going to put them together, this is the back dress, this is the front top dress. You put it together, while this other side, the back or the front, together like this. So what you are going to do, we are going to pin them together. So you pick your top dress like this. You're pinning the two back both dress together. So you go ahead and start pinning. You can see the way it is. I have not attached my button loop yet. So the way I usually do it, I'll go ahead and stitch it all around before I get to the end of the neckline, and I will place my button loop inside. So when you place your button loop inside, make sure that the raw edges is coming out from the center back, while this place that is folded is inside your top dress. So once you place it inside and you just finish stitching, make sure to back stitch 2 to 3 times so that you secure the button loop together. So once you have done stitching, I will show you how it might look. So go ahead and stitch that together. I have stitched the center back. So what you are going to do, this is where my stitches end. So I'm going to take my scissors and snip it very close to my stitches, but do not snip your stitches so that you don't go back to your sewing machine and start stitching all over again. I will snip it right there, and I will just go ahead and snip it all around. Cut out the excess of your button loop like this, and then continue snipping it all around. You can see the way that is. Once you have done it like this, take it to your ironing board, go ahead and give it a nice good press. I have ironed my center back together. This is how it looks. The next thing that you have to do, take it to your sewing machine, go ahead and give it a top stitch all around. Once you have done that, you pick your front top dress, put them together like this. You stitch the side seam together. You pick the other side, put them together like this, stitch the side seam together. You come to this other side, you repeat the same process, stitch the side seam together. Once you have done that, take it to your ironing board, press the seam apart. I have stitched the side seam together. I take it to my ironing board, I give it a good press. And for the center back, and I've also stitched around the center back. So what we are going to do, we are going to gather our calf sleeve on the armhole of the top dress. I have stitched my cap sleeve. This is how it looks. Once you have done that, I will turn the top dress inside out. So we are going to take our bias binding to bind the armhole. So what I'm going to do, I am going to place my bias binding from inside, that's front of my top dress. So I will place it inside and pin my bias binding around the armhole. I have pinned my bias binding around the armhole. This is how it is. I will take it to my sewing machine and top stitch. Once I am done with that, I will take my scissors, cut out from the seam allowance, then fold it inside, fold it again to cover the raw edges. So go ahead and use bias binding to bind the armhole of your dress. Once you have done that, we put the skirt together and your dress is almost ready. I have used my bias binding to bind the both armhole. This is how it is. Once you have done that, the next thing that you have to do, you are going to attach your strap at the waistline. What you are going to do, measure the total waistline and cut your strap. Make sure that you join it together, which I have already joined mine together. So what I'm going to do, I am going to start pinning it on my top dress. So when you're going to pin it on your top dress, make sure that you separate your lining. So you go ahead and start pinning it like this. The edges of your strap is facing the edges of your top dress. You pin it all around. I have pinned it all around. The next thing that you have to do, take it to your sewing machine and top stitch. Once you have done stitching, you pick your skirt and gather your skirt at the waistline of your top dress. Once you have done gathering, take it to your sewing machine and top stitch. I have stitched my skirt at the waistline. This is how it is. It's very beautiful, step-by-step tutorial. I have also taken it to my overlocker. You can see that I overlock the raw edges. The next thing that you have to do, you are going to use your lining to cover the raw edges of your skirt. Whatever seam allowance that you use to stitch your skirt together, make sure you, when you're going to fold your lining to cover the raw edges, fold the same seam allowance inside and use it to cover your skirt raw edges. Once you have pinned it all around, the next thing that you have to do when you are going to stitch, you start stitching from the front of the dress, not inside. So what you are going to do, whatever fabric you attach at the waistline, make sure you push it down. You're going to be stitching on your made fabric, not on any design you attach on the dress that you make. Once you have done that, you use the opportunity to hem your dress. Fold inside 1 centimeter, fold it again and top stitch. Once you have done that, you just go ahead and place your buttonhole at the center back of your dress. This is the final look of my dress, beautiful dress to make, step-by-step tutorial, 3 to 4 years old child. You can see how that is. Please make sure to watch the video until the end so that you don't miss anything out. And this is for 2 to 3 years old child. Thank you all so much for watching my video. Please subscribe, share my video with your friends and loved ones, and you all should have a marvelous day. Bye.